Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Let the filibustering begin.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
Hi everybody, welcome to this next edition of Filibuster. This is Matt Hansen back from my self-imposed exile, but only briefly because school's now back on for me, but I'm very, very happy to be back and joined by Lee Hutchison. How are you doing, Lee?
Excellent. Well, I say excellent. It's 11 o'clock. It's like 10 past 11 UK time, and I've just come out of a double bill of Jackie and Manchester by the Sea. So to say I'm emotionally drained is an understatement, but thankfully I get to hear Matt Hansen's beautiful voice in my ears, so that brings a bit of cheer to my day.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw those films recently too, but not in a double bill, and yeah, that is some emotional turmoil.
Yeah, it's all the death and grief and despair. It's like, this is meant to be sad, this is meant to be cheerful, so yeah, get in there.
But you know what? We are going to talk about something cheerful because if I'm back, that means we must be talking about something Marvel related. And indeed we are. So we didn't really get a chance to discuss Doctor Strange when it came out in theaters for us, but we're going to talk a little bit about that at the beginning, and then we're going to talk about the future Phase 3 lineup of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what our hopes are, what we anticipate, maybe even a few predictions here and there based on what we've seen. So I'm very, very excited to talk about the MCU as always.
Yeah, it's always a treat to talk about it with you. That I always think, I'm kind of a bit indifferent to maybe the superhero movies these days, but when I get the chance to talk about it with Matt Hansen, I gotta take it, and I usually find myself feeling more positive for it at the end.
So, Phase 3 kicked off last year in a big, big way with Captain America Civil War, a movie that we've talked about extensively on this network and on this show, and if you want to go and listen to our thoughts, we did a whole commentary on it even, in addition to a review. But needless to say, I was very, very pleased, and if you go back and listen to the shows from last year before it came out, it was like I was on the edge of my seat for that movie, and it did not disappoint me, so very, very happy with that. And then in November, it came Doctor Strange, a movie that, like the many other new experiments before it, people had slated would be another, could this be Marvel's first failure? And of course, critically it wasn't, and certainly box office wise, it's made over $650 million worldwide for a character that no one's really heard of before. So I'd say they're pretty safe in the bank there. Being that we didn't talk about Doctor Strange for a while, I'll just give my thoughts on the film. I've only seen it the one time instead of my usual 16, which is sad, but it came out right in the middle of school, right before finals started, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to survive never seeing it until finals were over. So I just saw it the one time the weekend of release, and I really enjoyed myself. I think it was something different and something a little bit more trippy and psychedelic, but a fun little romp. I don't know if I would have pegged it as like a 90%er on Rotten Tomatoes Marvel movie. And, I'm trying to be fair, and, I'm trying to not kiss Marvel ass all the time, although, that's usually what I do anyway. But I didn't think it was like an exceptional movie or anything, but I think it's a really fun movie with some cool visuals, a solid cast. And what I do think is that it sets it up nicely for an even better, more daring sequel. So I think that people, I think that the fact that the story was a little bit, it was your typical superhero origin story with a few twists and turns thrown in there that I really liked. But I feel like they kind of had to it's kind of like Ant-Man, where they kind of had to ease you into this new kind of superhero and all the trippy stuff that he deals with, and then next time when we know what we're in for, they can go balls out. So I'm looking forward to the sequel for it.
Yeah, I think last year, and I said it on a few pods, I was just really fatigued with all the superhero stuff, and I think it was mostly just the online stuff, the kind of the bickering that was Team Marvel, Team DCO, people, as if people can't enjoy both, or if you like one set of movies, then that makes you biased towards the other. That, that just stuff kind of bored me to death, really. And, it kind of affected some of my film going, that I saw Civil War only the one time. I usually go maybe a good few times to see these sorts of things. So I just saw it the one time. I saw Doctor Strange a couple of times, but I think Civil War was one of those movies I had such a great time at the cinema, but I just never had the time or kind of push to go sit through kind of a good nearly 3-hour superhero movie. But I watched again on Blu-ray and enjoyed it. I had a great time doing the podcast commentary with you and Tristan. I really enjoyed Civil War, and I think it's it was probably the best superhero movie last year, probably after Star Trek Beyond. It was probably the best blockbuster of the year. So by some far, I suppose based on last year's movies of Independence Day, like Suicide Squad and so on, it's pretty well head and shoulders above the rest. And then Doctor Strange came, and that was a movie I was quite excited for, being the Cumberbatch fan that I am. I actually saw him perform Hamlet 2 days before he started work on Doctor Strange. I remember the first photos of him on set these 3 days just after. I saw him with this beard on, and I thought, well, I'm never going to shake that's a fake beard when I watch it. So I think Doctor Strange was, as you were saying, it's visually trippy. I think it's a great cast. It took me a little while the first time to really click with it, because I was so used to Cumberbatch with an English accent, so hearing him with this New York accent was a bit kind of jarring at first, but I think it was a really enjoyable movie. It was a bit disposable, really. I watched it again. Yeah, that's fine, good enough. Not interested perhaps in seeing it again, but that's not really a slight on the movie. I feel like I got all I kind of wanted out of it, and
right.
That's more than enough. That's the same with 90% of films. I watch a film, I'm not necessarily going to watch it again. There's always that special 10% that become repeat viewings, and Doctor Strange, as good as it was, I'll probably watch it again on Blu-ray at some point, but no rush, no slight on the film.
No, not at all, and I think that's perfectly fine. I think Doctor Strange is enjoyable for what it is. It has some great visuals. I'm very glad I saw it on the big screen. Fun cast, fun story. Like I said, I think that the sequel has the potential to stand out more, because now that they've gotten this whole intro out of the way, we can really do some trippy stuff and do something cool.
Yeah, it certainly opens the door to the mystic world for Marvel, so I'm very excited to see where they go with that in the next phase of movies, and looking forward to seeing Doctor Strange interacting with the Avengers.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that, because it's coming up, and with that, let's move off Doctor Strange. It was fun, it's happened, and it was a nice success for Marvel. They're still going strong. But we're going to turn now ahead to the future Phase 3 lineup and what we've known so far. We've got 2017, which is the first year that Marvel Studios is going to release 3 projects instead of 2. And, people might wonder whether or not that's a good idea. I know superhero fatigue is a thing for some people. I mean, I know you've commented on it, Lee. We've talked about it. Again, not to sound like a biased fanboy, although I totally admit that's what I am. A resume has to speak for something, and I think that the fact that they haven't had an outright failure or just like a movie that I think is an absolute waste yet. I mean, Thor 2, for all of its faults, I don't think is a waste of a movie. I just think it's a 3 out of 5 or 2.5 out of 5 star movie, but it wasn't. I didn't hate myself for watching it. So I still have a lot of faith that they can pull off the projects, especially now that they've shown me with both Civil War and Doctor Strange that shedding whatever creative committee was shackling them before probably was a good idea, because looking ahead at some of these movies, Lee, I think you'd agree, these are some of the most exciting and most interesting projects that Marvel's done so far in terms of the talent behind the camera and in front of it. Yeah,
I think that you were saying that they've shed that committee, and I think that all this, probably a decade now, is it, that they've built up, well, probably less. All this,
next year it'll be 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years worth of films, box office, goodwill, everything like that. They're about to cash it all in now, and they can start kind of diversifying the projects and in ways with introducing kind of the Black Panther movies, Captain Marvel, going into the realms of Doctor Strange even further. This is all the payoff on all the goodwill that they can literally, they don't have to worry about perhaps box office backlash to, movies where perhaps it's the hero is someone of color or anything like that, that they can do whatever they want now. This is like them going, this is the things we want to do and we're just going to go do them. They don't have to perhaps pander to audiences as much as they maybe had to in the early days. And
I think too that they don't necessarily, although I feel like there's some of this that still needs to be in there, but I feel like where Doctor Strange has been their 14th movie. We've gotten to the point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where I feel like the filmmakers and the studio really don't have to handhold the audience anymore. It's not likely that the people who are showing up time and time again for these movies have never seen any of them, although it's certainly possible. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of, like, last time on the Marvel Cinematic Universe that they have to do as far as audiences are concerned. I think they have us safely by this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they've built up a kind of audience essentially from scratch. When you look at those kind of early numbers for, say, Iron Man and Thor and the first kind of phase movies, they're pretty modest by today's standards. Like, they've continued to build up their following, and even though, say, movies like, say, Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, they may not hit the heights of some of the other movies like Captain America's and Avengers, they're still racking up a hell of a lot of money by any box office standards. It's just that these superhero movies kind of jar the numbers somewhat with, like, oh, because this made $1 billion, it's disappointing when something doesn't make that. Like, most movies make in and around maybe that 500 million, 450 million for big blockbuster movies.
Absolutely. And I think that had these movies not been as successful as they are, there's no way an Ant-Man movie, without the success of these films, would have made 500 million at the box office. There's no way that Doctor Strange would make over 650 million worldwide. So I think they have a loyal brand. They don't need to coddle us that much anymore. And looking to the future, the very next project is coming in less than 4 months, and actually less than 3 months if you're a UK person. That's the only thing I don't like about Marvel, is you all get to see them before we do.
I know, but then I have to put up with coming out of the cinema with about 50 messages from Matt Hansen. So tell me how it is. Is it good? Is it good? Is it good? Oh, no. Like, let me know. And I usually come out and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. I can't tell you anything, but I think you'll enjoy it. So yeah, I always enjoy that. Yeah,
but so the next movie that I'm alluding to, of course, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I'm willing to bet is going to be their biggest grosser of this year, simply because the first Guardians is so beloved and everyone was so high on that movie, myself included, that if that movie was able to gross, the first movie, having no knowledge of anything, was able to gross almost $800 million worldwide, given what you just said, I totally agree with you about the box office, but I have a good feeling that Guardians 2 is probably going to hit the $1 billion.
Yeah, I'll take a wee bet on that. I'm going to say about 750 million.
So you think it's going to make less than the first one?
How much did the last one actually make?
770 some million.
Oh, well. Make it 900 million. I'm just throwing numbers at, whatever. It's going to make I'll put it down as it'll make a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think it makes less than 900 million. I think that's my low bar. Unless it's terrible, which I can't imagine, because I mean, we've had a couple of trailers come out for this thing, and they've got, at least when they've shown it in my theater, they've shown it in front of they put it all over the front of Rogue One, which I think is a smart move because it's Disney owned as well. But every time they've shown that trailer, it's gotten a huge response from my crowd. So I think the world is ready for it.
Yeah, I didn't like the trailer. I think I'm in the minority here. I don't know what it was, but the trailer just did not click with me. It seemed a bit too CGI heavy. I've only watched it a couple of times, so I'm trying to kind of wean myself off of watching these trailers and expectations and so on. I'm really excited for this movie, but the trailer didn't do much for me. But regardless of the trailer, they could have put out a trailer where it was like a steaming pile of rubbish. But I have total faith in James Gunn, the cast and the crew behind that movie, that I'm willing to go in with an open mind regardless of that trailer. And I'm sure the next trailer will be something probably that I'll enjoy. But just now, maybe, I don't know, maybe I had too much expectations for the trailer because the first one was so iconic.
Yeah, but the thing is like, it's kind of interesting, and you're totally entitled to that opinion. It's not entirely wrong, but I mean, first of all, it's a space opera, so I don't know how you do that without CGI. So I think I just have to accept that as a given, that that's going to be in there. But if you go back and look at the first trailers for the first movie, they're fun trailers, but there's nothing in there that makes you think it's going to be the level of movie that it actually turned out to be. So they're holding back on some stuff too, because so far we've seen no Kurt Russell, and we know he's going to be a big part of this movie.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot that they're holding back on, which excites me. I'd rather that was the case than what we've got. So I just cannot wait to see this movie, this cast. Kurt Russell's just a brilliant addition to this, franchise. So yeah, I'm, regardless of the trailer not clicking for me, I will fully go in thinking that is not going to be what I expect from this film. I'm expecting another James Gunn movie that I will love, and I've loved many of his movies. So yeah, high hopes regardless of any footage.
Yeah, I trust him. I trust him, and I think the CGI stuff will end up looking better as we get closer, of course, because they worked on CGI right until the end. But that's going to be the first one coming out the first week of May for us, and I believe the last week of April for you. So once again, expect those messages from me, the midnight showing.
Yeah. And maybe, as I say, I managed to cheat my way into a week earlier screening of Guardians of the Galaxy. So maybe I'll have to do the same thing again, where I make a fake ticket to get into a certain screening. So I'll let you know. Please do.
Well, after Guardians in May, 2 months later, we're going to get something that a lot of people would have thought absolutely unnecessary 4 years ago, but I think I have high hopes for, and that's the new Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, Lee, I know that you, like the Guardians 2 trailer, you weren't particularly taken with the Homecoming trailer, and I don't think that's too much of an issue, because I feel like when I watch that trailer, I'm excited for it, but when I watch that trailer, I see Marvel trying to emphasize that they're coming back to basics with Spider-Man. I think that the Amazing films burned audiences enough where they think that they need to hold back on things, and they need to reestablish that this is a high school movie. This is a teenage Peter Parker, and it's not an emo Peter Parker like Andrew Garfield was, although I didn't have much of a problem with him. And I think that they're trying to emphasize that they're going back to basics, but this is part of this universe, because that's going to be the draw, or that's theoretically the draw, because why else would you put Robert Downey Jr. in all the trailer? So
yeah, it was a trailer. I because I've only watched that trailer a couple of times. As I say, I'm weaning myself off them. I can't remember what it was that necessarily maybe just didn't click with me with the trailer. But it's the same again. I have a total faith in the team behind this movie, and I think Spider-Man was probably one of the best parts of Civil War, and there was many great parts.
That's the other thing, right? Is that's what's filling me with confidence, because I really like Tom Holland from what I saw of him in Civil War. So I'm willing to go with him on another Spider-Man reboot if he's the lead. So
yeah, it was just the scenes between him and Robert Downey Jr. were so much fun. And if I was a teenage boy, I would look up to probably Iron Man if I was a superhero. That I want to be like him, Captain America. We're both on record. That's our favorite of the Marvel superheroes. But imagine you were a teenage boy, you're Spider-Man. You've got this homeboy and Iron Man, you'd be backing him. You'd be wanting to grow up to be the billionaire philanthropist playboy.
Right, absolutely. And that's one of the things I did really like about the trailer, is that I feel like the chemistry between Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. is still there. I really had a good laugh when they're sitting in the car and Tom Holland thinks he's about to hug him, and Robert Downey Jr. is like, nope, that's not a hug. I'm just getting the door for you. Good luck, kid. It was just, I love their rapport. And I mean, Michael Keaton as the bad guy, who doesn't want that? I so want that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Birdman / Batman / Jack Frost does in a Marvel world. I think we've said it many a time, for the most part, Marvel are pretty awful with villains. So Michael Keaton he's got to be up there with kind of Robert Redford in Civil War, Tom Hiddleston. I think he could be one of the few great ones. You know, when the Marvel villains are great, they're great. When they're terrible, they're terrible. I have a feeling this is going to be up there with the best.
Yeah, I think so too. I've not seen Michael Keaton give a flat performance yet. So, and he's kind of had like a Matthew McConaughey. I mean, like he's kind of like had a renaissance like McConaughey has, and so I'm hoping this continues that.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't think he would go into this genre just after kind of the successes he's had recently with movies like Birdman and Spotlight. If it wasn't a great script and a great role, I don't think he's in that.
It just came out too that, like, I don't know if you read this interview, but he came out recently and said, yeah, the reason I didn't do Batman Forever is because I really hated the script from the first reading.
Yeah, that's not a shock, I suppose.
But you know what I mean? It shows to me that he's discerning with what he does.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the stage he's at in his career. He's built up a lot of goodwill from some of his choices lately, and I don't think he's going to go back to maybe some of the choices he was making in the 90s with movies like, say, Jack Frost, for example, that kind of put him into the wilderness for a long time.
Yeah. Although, I remember his renaissance coming earlier, because I remember him being the voice of the Ken doll in Toy Story 3, which I thought was amazing. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Following Spider-Man Homecoming, which is in July, I don't know if the UK is getting that early. You probably are. You probably get all of these early.
Yeah, I think we get them all early.
The next one is shaping up to be something rather interesting, and I know it's one that you actually have high hopes for because of who's behind the camera on this. And, you know, most people would never think that this has such a high anticipation rate because the first two movies were not that beloved by most of the fandom. But Thor Ragnarok is coming probably at the end of October for you and the beginning of November for us. And this is being directed by, is it Taika Waititi? Is that
Taika? Yeah, you're on the ball.
So he is the writer / director of at least two really critically acclaimed films, What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People, neither of which I've seen, but I will before November because I want to get a flavor of this guy's style. I have seen the Team Thor Civil War thing, which was written and directed by him.
Yes, they definitely were I think they've indicated they're going to have a sort of similar tone, so yeah, that should certainly excite you.
So, I mean, tell me, because you've seen both of those films, Lee, and when Taika Waititi was announced as the director, you were so on board with Thor 3. So tell me, this is probably, I'm willing to bet that of the three Marvel movies coming out this year, this is your most anticipated. Tell me why. This
is probably going to be the best Marvel movie ever. This will be better than the Avengers. This will be better than anything.
You think it's going to get to that like Winter Soldier level?
They're going to be very different types of movies, but I think this is going to be competing for that crown. Like his work on Flight of the Conchords, Eagle versus Shark, What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilder People. Like Hunt for the Wilder People was one of the best films of last year, and next to no one saw it. It's now on the UK Netflix, and I think I managed to see it like a good few months before it came out in the UK at the film festival, and I think I came out of that screen and I was like to everyone that would listen, watch this movie, Hunt for the Wilder People. It is a perfect movie. It is incredibly made. It's incredibly well written. Taika Waititi has like a little cameo as well, and he steals the show. He is one of the best comedic like group directors just now. Like this movie is going to be a buddy movie. Hunt for the Wilder People is a buddy movie. It's brilliant. What We Do in the Shadows is one of the best comedies in recent years, and it's so incredibly quotable. You watch that movie and you're talking about swearwolves all the time. He is a director that fills me with such amazing confidence. Like, I was so excited for Edgar Wright doing Ant-Man. Then that obviously fell apart. But with this, I know it's coming good. I know it's going to happen. The fact that Sam Neill's cast in this, Mark Ruffalo's going to be in it, Cumberbatch is in it, Sam Neill.
Wait a second, because that's the next thing I wanted to talk about is not only the talent behind the camera here, but could this be one of the most interesting casts of any of these Marvel movies ever? I think it possibly could be. Because, I mean, of course you've got Chris Hemsworth coming back, and you've got Tom Hiddleston coming back, and, you know, who doesn't love Loki? But, you know, we're going to have Mark Ruffalo in this film as the Hulk, which I'm looking forward to seeing Mark Ruffalo outside of an Avengers movie.
Yes, I'm very excited. I think like we've definitely been given a great impression of what the two of them are like in that little kind of mini movie, and I think, like, you know, Kate Beckinsale as well. Jeff Goldblum.
Not Beckinsale. There's going to be no underworld in this movie. It's Kate Blanchett.
Oh, Kate Blanchett. Oh my god! Like, periodic reminder to everyone listening to this. This is like 20 to midnight on a Saturday night. I can only apologize for getting that wrong. But there's one thing I am not wrong about: that you should be excited for Thor 3. You can think Thor 2 is the biggest steaming pile of garbage because it was terrible. I've only watched it once. I don't think I've even put on the Blu-ray that I own. But you should be excited for Thor 3. If people are on the edge, watch Hunt for the Wilder People. Watch Ego versus Shark. Watch What We Do in the Shadows, and you will be confident. I couldn't, like, if this was like any other movie, I would be excited for it. Like, this guy is one of these directors that has already got me hyped, and I don't know how many times I've messaged Tristan, all the other people in the nerd party, to like, watch Hunt for the Wilder People. Watch this. What, you know, this guy, full faith in it. I'm going all in. All my chips are on the table. So if this movie ends up being a total disaster, I'm going to be left with some egg on my face. I
don't think it will be, though. I mean, like, we haven't seen much marketing material from that, but I imagine we're going to get some kind of trailer attached to Guardians 2. Because that's going to be the first thing that kicks off the summer, and it's a connected movie. But everything fills me with confidence. The way you speak about this director, the cast. I never thought I would, like, get excited over the fact that Jeff Goldblum's in a movie, but Jeff Goldblum's in this movie, and I'm thrilled. Like,
wait, did you say you wouldn't get excited about Jeff Goldblum being in a cast in a movie?
I mean, but I wouldn't think that I would. But like, I've seen enough of him now, and I've gone back through his oeuvre that I'm super excited that he's in this movie. And of course, I mean, who doesn't love Carl Urban? I love that.
Yes, we forgot about Carl Urban,
and he's gonna play a heavy. Like, he's one of the antagonists.
Which, yeah, it's so perfectly cast. Like, you know, if this was just like, as I was saying, if this wasn't a Thor movie and this was just his like follow-up movie to what we do in the Shadow, Hunt for the Wilder People, I'd have been just as excited and proclaiming it could be one of the best films of the year. The fact that it's a Marvel movie gives me more excitement to think, what is he going to do with his unique approach to cinema in this movie? And yeah, I'm very excited, and I will continue to fly the flag for Thor 3, and everyone will bow down before me after that movie and go, you know what, Lee, you may be ugly, but you're goddamn right about Thor 3 being great. So I'm confident. Oh,
come on, you're beautiful.
Thank you.
But after Thor 3 hopefully blows our socks off at the end of this year, we move quickly on into the big slate that they have for 2018, and we start right at the beginning in February with Black Panther. This is now the way you feel about Taika Waititi is the way that I feel now about Ryan Coogler, who's directing and writing this movie. I haven't gone back and watched Fruitvale Station, but I will. But I absolutely fell in love with this man and the way he worked when I saw Creed. I absolutely loved Creed. It was one of my favorite films of 2015. And when I heard that they got him to do this, I was all on board for Black Panther.
Yeah, like I was the total same as you. I think it was announced just before Creed came out here in the UK that he was going to be the man behind Black Panther, and it was one of those moments like I was like, okay, I hadn't seen Fruitvale Station, but I watched this movie and I thought, damn, that is a hell of a director that Marvel have managed to convince to come on. Like, I think we're definitely seeing a lot more power going to the directors these days than perhaps they did in those early movies. I think understandably there was probably a lot of fear at Marvel about, giving too much power and kind of that it was maybe directors for hire, essentially. I think now with the quality of directors they're getting in, directors that could have any project they wanted, I think this is going to be a movie that I'm very excited for. I like, it's the same with Thor 3. I'd have been happy to see his follow-up to Creed in any capacity. The fact that it's going to be Black Panther is quite an exciting one for me to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of what you're talking about there, Lee, or describing is, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, with the earlier Marvel movies were all done kind of by committee. I mean, there's still good movies. I mean, a lot of great movies were made under that committee. That includes like the first Avengers, Winter Soldier, all that stuff. But I think now that they've discharged the creative committee and Kevin Feige is the only person that they have to answer to, I think they're in a much better place to have a lot of creative freedom, which is why you're seeing the casts that they're getting come on board and why you're seeing the directors that they're getting come on board.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just, it's what happens when you build kind of I think it can be easy to forget that they built their own movie studio company and everything like that. And I think it's very understandable in the beginning that there was nerves around kind of giving perhaps the directors control, and I think that's led to some kind of bloody noses at Marvel and with the directors kind of over the years with the creative panel. It's not like, say, Warner Brothers where they can just make, say, Batman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman and that. Marvel had to really kind of work their way up and kind of make the superhero movies credible. And I think now that it's again all that payoff now they can give directors much more control, obviously within kind of a remit, but that's kind of not unusual with kind of movie productions anyway. So I'm excited to see more kind of flair from the directors and less kind of being handcuffed to perhaps a certain person's vision at Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, and the nice thing with Black Panther is that he's already had a great introduction in Captain America Civil War, and they've taken care of his origin story. I mean, so they don't even have to go through that in this film. We get right into picking up where Civil War leaves off, and I mean, again, the kind of people that they're attracting. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, who is the star of Creed, is going to play the main villain of the film. And, they got Forrest Whitaker. They nailed down Angela Bassett to play Black Panther's mother. So I'm certainly looking forward to this. I think it's going to be amazing, especially considering the director.
Yeah, I think we're definitely in for a treat. I think it's going to be a bit of a dark horse set for kind of the Marvel movies. I think a lot of people probably after Civil War have kind of forgotten a bit about the Black Panther movie on the horizon, with maybe a bit of focus kind of on Infinity War already. I think it's going to be a bit of a surprise kind of when we start getting footage like, oh yeah, we are getting a Black Panther movie. I think there's so much coming out in blockbuster movie terms that I think it's easy to forget we've got some really good movies on the horizon from Marvel.
Right. And I think Black Panther will be the perfect appetizer for what is surely going to be my most anticipated movie of 2018, May 4th, 2018, here to be exact, and that would be Avengers Infinity War. And I guess we can talk about Avengers Infinity War plus the sequel / not sequel that they're doing a year later. It's a two-parter, but not a two-parter from how they describe it. But it doesn't matter because it's Anthony and Joe Russo, and it's the same writers from Civil War and Winter Soldier taking care of all these characters, closing the chapter of the first saga of Marvel, if you will. And I can't think of anybody I trust more than those guys.
Yeah, the Russo brothers. Like, I'm trying to avoid reading anything about this movie. I almost want nothing to do with this movie until it comes out. I want to be surprised. I want to be excited. I want all this payoff from sitting through every one of these movies since Iron Man all the way back in 2008. I am going to try and avoid as much of this movie as possible. I'm going to go in full lockdown. I don't want to read an interview. I'm going to try and avoid the trailers. I want this to be a pure experience as possible.
It's going to be hard, right? Because you just know that they're going to attach the trailer for Infinity War to Episode 8 at the end of the year. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Like, I will watch it if it's inflicted on me. Like, at the moment, like, one of my most anticipated movies for this year is Dunkirk, and I have not watched the more recent trailer. I've seen the teaser a few times.
That's surprising to me because, like, I've gone to the movie so much. I've always gotten that trailer in front of every single one. It doesn't matter the genre. I've always gotten the Dunkirk trailer. And
yeah, I've just got the little mini one where the folk are looking up and they hear the planes coming down. I've not seen the second trailer, and I'm trying my best not to see it. I've not watched it at home. I want to watch it hopefully on a big screen first. This trailer, I will see this trailer at some point. But if I can make it to Dunkirk without seeing this trailer,
that's what surprises me is that, like, not that you haven't by volunteering, because I know you can stay away on your own merits, but like it's just been in front of every movie I've seen. So
yeah, well, we're kind of kicking into the Oscar season here in January in America, in the UK. So we're kind of seeing a lot more of the kind of the Jackies and Moonlights. Those kind of trailers are a bit more frequent. So yeah, the way movie trailers are kind of released here in the UK is slightly different. Like, say you go see a Disney movie, kind of Guardians of the Galaxy, you're not necessarily guaranteed to get the Disney movies attached. It's just kind of a selection of trailers. So yeah, like if I can make it to Dunkirk without seeing the trailer, I'll be amazed. If I can make it to Infinity War without knowing anything, I will truly be kind of a nun.
See, but that's the thing, right? Is like I keep saying, you're right. They don't attach necessarily certain trailers to certain movies, unless you're Star Wars at the end of the year, in which case, because they know everybody's going to go see it, they shove all the trailers into it. So you know Infinity War is going to be one of them.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, so I will see it at some point, but I'm going to try to avoid it, and then I'm going to let down Matt Hansen every time he messages me going, have you seen the trailer? Yeah, I need to talk about it. And I'll be like, no, I will direct you to Tristan Riddell. You can have that conversation with him.
I don't even know if I'll have time to talk to you because I'll probably have exploded watching the trailer.
Exactly. There'll just be excitement all over the planet.
I mean, there is not... I was so excited for Civil War. I was even more excited for Civil War than I was for Age of Ultron, and I was pretty excited for Age of Ultron. But, like, the fact that not only is this an Avengers movie, but it's the Russos, and it's the follow-up to Civil War, and it's supposed to be this conclusion, I don't think I will ever get as excited for a movie as I will when Infinity War is on the horizon. So I am so looking forward to that. I can't even put into words how excited I am for Infinity War. And I don't envy their task, though, because, I mean, there's a lot to juggle with that movie, because they're not only taking all the Avengers, they're bringing in the Guardians, they're bringing in the new people that they've introduced during this phase. It's supposed to be the grand culmination, but like I said, if there's any creative team that I trust to make this all work somehow, it's the Russos and the writers from Winter Soldier Civil War. So
yeah, total faith in the Russo brothers. You know, I've been there since the Arrested Development days, so I'm ready.
So this is kind of interesting. So we have the first part of Infinity War coming out in May of 2018. And then we get a break in between that movie and its follow-up, which is next May in 2019. But right after Infinity War, in July here, and probably the end of June where you are, we get the follow-up to Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, this is probably... I think this is a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Because Infinity War is bound to be this huge epic, right? I mean, there's just going to be a lot going on. So much stuff is happening. It's full of characters. It's full of drama. I think kind of the way... Remember how we kind of felt that Ant-Man was like it was the right movie to come out after Age of Ultron? I kind of feel the same way about Ant-Man and the Wasp is the right movie to come out after Infinity War. You know what I mean?
Definitely. It'll be a good palate cleanser, I think. So,
I mean, we don't know much about it yet. We just know that the creative team behind the first one is going to be back. I really thought the first one was a lot of fun. Loved Paul Rudd's role in Civil War. I mean, I think that made more people fall in love with the character. And I can't wait to see what he does, because supposedly this is going to be dealing with some of the fallout from Civil War and the fact that he's now a rebranded criminal again because of violating the Accords.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be fascinating, and I'm looking forward to Evangeline Lilly getting to suit up, and it's going to be a duo movie, which I'm all for. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's really good that it'll be kind of another female character kind of taking prominence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it's long overdue, so I'm excited to see this kind of matchup. And I think when you see the Wasp introduced kind of at the end of Marvel, it was Ant-Man. I think that was an exciting moment for everyone, that we're hoping to see more female kind of representation in the leads of Marvel movies.
Well, speaking of female representation, it's funny you say that, because supposedly she's being introduced in Avengers Infinity War Part 1, but the next movie after Ant-Man and the Wasp doesn't come until March 8th, 2019, just 2 months before the last Infinity War movie. And that being Captain Marvel. Now, we don't know who the director is yet. They haven't announced it, but they did announce that the writers behind it were one of the co-writers from Guardians of the Galaxy, and the other writer who just won an Oscar for writing Inside Out, the Pixar movie Inside Out, which I thought was a fantastic little film. And we did learn that they got. What I'm really excited for is that we learned at Comic-Con last year that they got Brie Larson. And Brie Larson is someone who I think is on the rise, because I don't know if you saw Room. I saw Room. I really liked the first half, less so the second, but one thing that was consistent was how amazing Brie Larson is. And she was amazing in Scott Pilgrim. Any people that are cast in Scott Pilgrim in Marvel movies, exciting. She was fun even in that first 21 Jump Street movie. I forgot that was her. But
yeah, I completely forgot she was in that, yeah.
But the fact that they got her just coming after winning an Academy Award, I'm so down for that. I haven't seen much yet. I don't know much about the character. I just know that she's supposed to be ultra powerful and is supposed to be kind of in that cosmic realm of the cinematic universe, but the talent that they've amassed so far, I'm very excited that Marvel is going to get their first female movie of front and center appearance. I'm glad she's being introduced in Infinity War, because that probably means we won't have to do the whole backstory again for her solo. I'm looking forward to this, and I know Brie Larson's a great actress. I know she can carry a film, so.
Yeah, I just don't know much, to be honest, about Captain Marvel. All I know is, with that talent involved in writing it, and Brie Larson, that's another movie for me to look forward to checking out when I'm wanting to sandwich it in between probably two European indie movies. I'm quite excited about Captain Marvel, and I hope it's a success, and certainly not the first or last female-led Marvel movie.
Yeah, hopefully not. And then, of course, like I said, it all wraps up on May 3rd, 2019 with the second part of Infinity War, or whatever they're going to call it, because we still don't have a title. But that leaves me saying, I know that right after the Infinity War wraps up, they're betting on having another Spider-Man movie after Infinity War. But the big question for me is, what do you think is going to happen at the end of Infinity War? How do you close off this 10-year saga but still leave room to start anew? I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to how they figure that out.
I think for me, it's hard to know just now. I think obviously it's going to be kind of a new Avengers, essentially. Much and such we've kind of saw with Civil War, just constantly the team will be changing and evolving. And I think we're going to have a much, much clearer idea. I know it's a bit of a cop-out when we get to kind of around Infinity War, when we've had Black Panther, when we've had Captain Marvel, when we've had the Wasp, all these new characters, we're going to see them getting a lot more prominence, kind of their roles expanding in Marvel movies and being introduced to Marvel. And I think once we've kind of got through this new era of movies, we've had Doctor Strange already, I think we're going to have a better idea of who's going to be around, whose contracts are up, who's not, and where we are kind of going to the future. So I'm excited that it's still quite unknown. It's nice to kind of have that on the horizon.
No, I'm not complaining. It's fantastic that I don't know how this is going to end. But like I said when we were talking about Infinity War, I don't envy the Russos, because even though I trust them, that is a daunting task to satisfyingly wrap up 10 years worth of storytelling while at the same time theoretically setting up the next 10 years. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know how you do that, but like, I trust that they're going to find a way.
Yeah, like I think if there's people that deserve the benefit of the doubt in terms of planning for the future, I think it's these guys. I think they've pretty much always had a clear vision of where they want things to go, and at times they've tripped over themselves to fulfill that ambition, and sometimes it's had a course correction here and there, but I think that they really are working towards something that they've probably had on post-it notes and a whiteboard for many, many years. No, I imagine, very exciting.
I imagine that the wall at Marvel Studios looks like Thor's wall in that Team Thor movie, where he's just got all these arrows connecting different things, and
yes.
But I am so excited, and I mean, I'll tell you this: if the Russos and Feige manage to pull this off, I will build a shrine to them. I don't care how much it costs, because it'll just be one of the most amazing feats of storytelling yet. But I have such high hopes. I'm so optimistic for Phase 3. It sounds like you are too, Lee. So, I mean...
Yeah. Like, what was I saying at the beginning? I'm I'm struggling a bit with superhero fatigue, and while I may not see these movies maybe once or twice, or maybe watch once at the cinema and perhaps never again, I'm guaranteed that I'm going to enjoy myself, and I'm going to have a good debate with you about the movies and the quality of them. And I've 46 minutes on, I'm more excited than I was at the beginning for the next phase of movies, and I was pretty hopeful for them anyway.
Me too. I'm so thrilled. Thank you so much for serving my fandom and just letting me ramble about these movies for 46 minutes. It's been a real treat. I hope it's been a treat for you listeners as well.
That's the joy of the Nerd Party. We're all here to ramble on incessantly, so yes, that's what we're all here to do.
And you can, if you want to listen to me ramble more, there's so many ways for you to do that, but primarily the way that you can get in touch with me personally to talk about what you're looking forward to with Marvel Phase 3 and all these films is to contact me on Twitter. I am at mhansen0207, Hansen. Lee, you are also on Twitter.
Yeah, you can find me at Lee_Nostromo, and I'll be back on Filibuster next week with a special guest for our Trainspotting 2 discussion. So that'll be something for you guys to look forward to. I was just at the cinema earlier on, and they're already getting the premiere stage all set up for tomorrow's premiere. So yeah, look forward to a nice, exciting discussion of Trainspotting 2, one of the most anticipated movies. That's a 20-year wait, Matt, between Trainspotting and Trainspotting 2. That makes the Marvel wait.
Has it really been 20 years?
20 years. So imagine having to wait that long to get a sequel like that. So it makes the Marvel movies and their frequency look not too bad.
Right. Well, I look forward to hearing that. I look forward to coming back again when my schedule allows. Thank you so much for joining us for this look ahead at Marvel's Phase 3. And until next time, Nerd Party disassemble.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Nerd Party.